Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Grad Chats. We are starting a new series this fall, and we're super excited to start with a really big one today. So to get things moving along, I can find out how to use my clicker. I am your host, Kathy Williams. We've met before. I started my degree a long time ago, finished my master's degree. I won't say how long ago, but I'm currently working on one of our graduate certificates in college teaching. But enough about me. Let's move forward with. It won't work. There we go. Okay, little housekeeping. Mike's muted, please. We are going to have a Q&A session at the end of our talk with Dr. Bowler here. And please use the chat box or the comments section for questions, and click your speech bubble for the chat box. And please, if you have a question come up in the middle of this, please feel free to go ahead and send it in, because we do have someone monitoring those questions for us as we're moving through it. So I want to go back and reiterate what we talked a little bit about back in April when we did our other Grad Chat series. And why is a graduate degree important? Well, it's obvious it opens up more employment opportunities, because as you will notice these days, more and more careers require a master's degree or even higher. And it does also, even if you're not working in your field that you completed your master's in, it does demonstrate an ability to complete a long-term project. It accelerates your career, or it could even take you down a completely new career path if you choose. Gives you better negotiating power for salary and benefits, and it keeps those benefits for a longer lifetime period. So moving right forward with our guest today, we've had so many changes going on our Tulsa campus, including a brand new president, a whole bunch of new programs, but one of the biggest changes that we've had going on, we have a brand new Tulsa Professional MBA program. And here is the man behind those changes with us today, Dr. Matthew Bowler. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. Glad to share with people about our new professional MBA.
Well, we have a lot to talk about in a very short period of time, so let's jump right in here.
Okay. So our new professional MBA program, which was formerly known as our part-time MBA program, is a format that we created to fit the schedules and the lifestyles of busy working professionals, people with families, kids, also that work a regular job, maybe travel. The slogan that we've sort of backdoored into for this is learn like you live. So our lives are busy, truncated periods of time where we can learn and do things. And so we need to be able to have the flexibility to learn when you can learn, and learn the way that works for you. So the first thing that we did was we altered the curriculum and streamlined it, cut a few courses out of the, not really cut, but combined some courses in the curriculum. So we used to have 2 required accounting classes. We squeezed those into 1 class. Okay. And what that did was it took our curriculum from a 42-hour program down to a 33 credit hour program for our professional MBAs. And
that is so big for working, like you said, working professionals, because it's like you're looking at that daunting amount of coursework that you have to take in front of you, going, I just don't see how I'm going to be able to complete all this. So that's a lot of hours cut off, and I'm sure that it's made a huge difference.
Yeah, and a lot of times we talk about credit hours, and the folks out there, that may be Greek math to them. So what does 33 credit hours mean? Generally a class is 3 credit hours. We have a few classes that are 1 credit hour that we brought into this curriculum to give people sort of a basic understanding of a few topics. But generally it's 10 3 credit hour courses, and then there are 3 1 credit hour courses in there as well.
So I know it's up to the individual as to how many credit hours that they take per semester. But in general, on average, how long would you say it would take to complete this Tulsa professional MBA?
So if you did it and did nothing else, if you did nothing else,
Does anybody out there do that? Yeah.
Took it full time and ran with it, you could probably do it in 14 months. But I think for the working professional, depending on whether you have a family, kids, those other sorts of activities, life hobbies, I'd say the fastest a working professional, especially with a family, maybe the fastest you could do it with a job is probably 18 months.
Okay. And that's taking how many classes per semester? Say they're 8 week, the new ones.
2 to 3.
Okay.
And generally, the way the schedule, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes,
Okay.
is set up is that you'll generally won't have more than 2 classes at a time.
Awesome.
So that would be 2 to 3 classes. I would say realistic for somebody with a job, full-time job, and a family is 24 to, and we'll let them stretch it out as long as they need to. But I know that when it was 42 hours and you had to take every class was a 16-week class, it was more like a
Your 4-year class.
3 to 4 years
Yeah.
to get everything done. So I think we've cut that amount of time significantly, both through the streamlining of the curriculum, as well as the way that the classes are offered and laid out.
What's the response been about that so far?
We have increased our enrollments in the classes themselves tenfold.
That is fantastic.
Yeah,
That is
from
really
spring to fall,
fantastic.
so.
Well, let's talk about that class format, because I'm pretty familiar with the hybrid class format, because I'm doing one of those in my graduate certificate course, but I'd like for you to explain how the hybrid works in the MBA.
Okay, the way that we have set it up for the MBA program, and we didn't invent this, we brought it over from education and aviation, and sort of used this and helped develop it. I worked with Ed Harris from the educational leadership area, and he's great. Was to develop these 8-week classes. They run for 8 weeks, and they are a mix of face-to-face meetings and online content,
Right.
as well as virtual interaction, live interaction between the faculty, the students, and the students between each other. So
Kind of like we're doing here, or on Zoom, or
Right,
something
exactly.
like that. Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
So what we find is that we have a 100% online program, and we have 100% in the classroom program. And the people who are online wish that they could meet and interact with their
Exactly.
professors as well as their fellow students. Because a big part of, I'd say, any graduate program, but especially an MBA program, is the networking capabilities that you develop, as well as the networks that you develop in that class or in the whole program. So.
Would you, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
On that note, with the networking opportunities and availability, would you say that that's equally as beneficial for both the classroom study as well as the connections that they're making for after they graduate?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people find a lot of value in those connections going forward.
Perfect.
And that's what you don't get as much in an online program that you get in this hybrid program. So our 8-week classes are set up such that you meet the first week face-to-face. And that not only fits with the pedagogy of teaching, but it works with the research on virtual teams. So virtual teams should meet up front to develop rapport and relationships, and then go off and work in a virtual format. So we meet face-to-face in the first week, get to know you, go through the syllabus, go through some initial lessons, and then we send people off to watch online content, which is lecture videos. So I'm teaching one this semester, this 8 weeks, and my lecture on Maslow's hierarchy, it doesn't change from year to year.
No, it doesn't.
Right? So it's in a video format. They watch that. They're in small chunks from 5 to 15 minutes. So
Okay.
they watch those when it works for them. Then we do like asynchronous discussion posting. So talking about Maslow, so we're talking about needs and motivations and things like that. At the end of that chapter, they'll fill out a discussion posting and respond to each other's discussions. Then each week that we don't meet face-to-face, we have 2 forms of virtual interaction. So on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock, I'm doing a text-based chat session. So envision an AOL chat session.
Now we're talking about our age, but.
Right. So what I find is at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night, people don't want to be on video. I don't want to be on video.
We do ours on at 10 o'clock on
Right.
Saturday morning. I know the
Right.
feeling.
So it's all text-based on Tuesday nights. And then on Wednesdays, and some of my students are actually participating in this because this is normally when we do our lunch and learn session.
So hi, students.
Hey class. We do what I call a lunch and learn, and that time I'm on video and they are able to be on video or audio if they want to.
Okay.
So we'll do those in the off week, and then in the 4th week, and this is our 4th week, we're coming back together tomorrow night for a midway face-to-face meeting.
Kind of a check-in.
Check-in.
How are we doing so far this semester? That's great.
And one of the things that I'm focusing on in my class, and I'm encouraging all the MBA faculty to do, is make sure that those face-to-face meetings are value-added activities. So something that you can't get through
This format.
this format. So tomorrow night, we have a guest speaker coming. Got the Lieutenant Governor, Matt Pinnell, visiting our class, gonna be speaking for about an hour.
Impressive.
Yeah, and so got some people pretty excited about him coming. I met him, I know him, he's a great guy, he's a great speaker, he's great to interact with. So there's a network connection.
And there's a connection right there already, and a powerful one at that. So.
And then we'll be doing activities. We're doing Strengths Finder, and so we'll be discussing that tomorrow night after the guest speaker. And
now you've got everybody wanting to come to your class
I know.
tomorrow night, so be careful.
Yeah, private event. Don't just show up. There is security. Then we'll have weeks 5, 6, and 7 that will be virtual and online.
And then
back together in week 8. Got
That's
another guest speaker
fantastic.
coming, and then we'll wrap everything up. So these 8-week courses we were able to put end to end in a 16-week semester.
I think we're going to look at that on our next slide, but
Okay.
before we change to that, I just wanted to check in again on the students and see if you're finding feedback from maybe your non-traditional students and how they still want that old school feel, but because of lifestyles.
Right,
aren't
this is a
able to.
professional MBA.
Okay.
So we have a mix of students who are 23 and have been out of college for a year or 2 or maybe even less, up through people who are in their 40s, 50s, coming back. We have people who actually have 3 people in this class who are traveling into town from remote locations for those face-to-face meetings.
But they can, because they can do everything else online, which
Right.
is fantastic.
Yep.
Let's take a look at that 8-week hybrid course now
Okay.
and have you explain a little bit about that.
All right, so
I think you just gave it.
Right. Well, my hybrid course, as you can see on the screen, is the Management and Organization Theory class.
Okay.
And then in the second 8 weeks, Rick Wilson, who's a department chair in the Management Science class, they call him Coach. He's a great teacher, great professor, great person to interact with. He'll be teaching the Management Science Prescriptive Analytics class. And same setup. They'll meet in the first week, the middle week, and the final week.
Now, is this course outline here, is this the same every year, or do these changes when courses are available?
We generally are trying to get a pretty well set rotation. This is our first year to go through it, so there may be some tweaking. For example, we've already moved the 1 hour, 2 1-hour credit courses that you see there at the bottom in the fall. Those are going to be in the spring.
Okay.
And so the other thing about this is
Don't worry, students, you don't have to remember this part now.
No.
You'll get all this.
Yeah,
when
your
you enroll.
advisor, Ashley Wilson, will help you through all this. So the other thing that we're able to do is, with those 8-week classes only meeting 3 times face-to-face, is that we're able to stack classes on 1 day a week. So
Perfect.
if somebody is really committed to this and they're that person that is able to commit some serious time to this, you can take the MBA financial reporting class during the same time that you're taking the 2 8-week classes. So what, from a pedagogical learning standpoint, our accounting professor and our finance professor said, look, we're not ready to take our class down to 8 weeks. We think people need, for those accounting classes, finance classes, they need the 16 weeks to let this material really digest and sink in, right? So they teach, Dr. Nabar is teaching that accounting class, award-winning professor, teaches that class on Thursdays from 4:30 to 7:10, face-to-face. He then, once the student gets done with that, 3 of the week, those first 8 weeks, they then can come to my class face-to-face.
At 7:10.
At 7:20.
Or 7:20, yeah.
Till 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So during that first 8 weeks, you've got 3 long days, right?
Right, but that's all you've got.
That's all you've got.
And then the rest of the week to fill in. So
Yes.
I noticed down here that we also have 9 hours of electives that are required for the professional MBA, and they can be taken in a specific area of concentration. I know we have the next slide coming up, which we'll go ahead and go to, because I think that will help us.
Let me touch on one more thing here. So after that first 8 weeks is over, they'll still be in accounting, and then they switch to the Management Science and Information Systems class for that later class. So they have 3 long days during the second 8 weeks.
Okay.
Or if you can't make it at 4:30, or you feel like that's too big of a course load to take those, you would only ever have 2 courses at a time. They're on Thursdays. Both of these classes are on Thursdays, but you could just take the 2 8-week classes end to end.
Like it shows here.
Yeah, like it shows here, without taking the financial reporting class. And so you could get 6 hours
Okay.
in one semester
So it's
on one
very-
night a week.
It sounds like it's so I mean, it's
modular.
custom.
It's
Yeah,
modular and
for each
customized,
person,
yeah.
for each
And you can
person.
even take that financial reporting class, it's offered online as well. So if that's something you're comfortable with,
Right.
take it online, come do the 2 face-to-face classes, the 2 hybrid classes face-to-face. So it's flexible, but yeah.
This is fantastic. Well, let's take a look at those electives now and see what else we can add to this
Okay.
picture. Graduate certificates. I know in spring we had a whole grad chat on graduate certificates, but the ones that we're going to talk about today are specific to the MBA program, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit, as it says here, independent graduate credentials, and these are credentialed graduate certificates. I want to remind everyone out there, but you can use either as a part of your MBA or an entrance to the MBA. Can you kind of?
Yeah, so you can actually start with your graduate certificate if you want to.
Okay.
And you can go get an HR certificate, you could get an entrepreneurship certificate. We have all these certificates available that most of them are, they're all 12 to 15 hours in general.
Right.
So with a 1 to 2 extra classes, you can get a separate degree, essentially, right? I mean, it's a
Okay.
certificate, but it's a degree that goes on your wall. People
It is
like trophies,
credentialed, yes,
right?
yeah.
You'll have to have
Frame
another
picture,
frame for
yeah.
your wall. So instead of just being on your transcript, which is a concentration, or actually specifically it's called an option according
Right.
to the university, we call them concentrations. Those are under transcript. So is a certificate, but certificate is a separate
Separate
degree.
piece of credential
Yeah.
that you can use.
I mean, we have people walk at graduation that are receiving
Just a graduate
I wouldn't say just, but they are
Exactly.
receiving a graduate certificate without their MBA. So you could go walk and get your certificate, then come back and finish up your MBA.
Well, I know that when I'm out recruiting, that's a huge plus. It's a huge selling point, if you will.
Right.
I hate to use selling point, but it is, because it's like some people might not be ready to jump into a full-blown MBA program yet, but this gives them a taste of what they might be experiencing and start that process and realize, hey, I can do this. So do those credits then roll right into the MBA?
Yep, they count as your electives in
Like
your
we
MBA.
saw before.
Yeah, yep.
That's
So-
perfect, and we can do this as little as 1 year, and they are financially, federally financially aid eligible.
Yep.
Which again, you do have to be eligible and fill out that FAFSA even as a graduate student. So some of those certificates that we were just speaking on, just give me a highlight on each one of these, if you would.
Okay, and we have some others in the works as well.
Okay,
So we've,
perfect.
probably
Tell me
one of
about
our
those.
most popular is human resource management.
Yes.
Entrepreneurship, and we're working on getting the entrepreneurship stuff offered in Tulsa. A lot of these are electives that are available online as well.
Okay.
So you can do your core in the hybrid format in Tulsa and get to know all your fellow students and your faculty, and then take some electives. And that's one of the great modular things about our program is that you
Right.
go grab this class online, you take these in a hybrid format, you take this one in a 16-week format. If there happens to be a class offered over in Stillwater, go take it if you want to.
Right.
And it all counts toward that same degree. So these certificates, like I said, they're 12 to 15 hours. We're actually getting ready to add a finance certificate.
Really?
Yeah, so
Fantastic.
the paperwork has been put in place, and you can actually start taking classes toward that now.
In the finance
In the
section.
finance area, and then once that paperwork gets approved by the state, then you can apply for that
The
program.
certificate
Yeah.
proactively.
Yeah, retroactive.
Retroactive,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, you wouldn't want to finish it first,
No,
right?
no, I know.
Before they get the paperwork done, but if you're in it, you could then apply for it, to it, so.
And I'm a college student. so-
Information assurance is a great one. Business sustainability.
What is information assurance? What would that be entailing?
It's cyber security.
Cool.
Yeah. So make sure nobody's hacking into your grad chat and changing, things about it or something like that. So, so business data mining, turning data into telling stories for businesses and helping them do research. Business sustainability.
They have a lot of questions about that one. I know we did a grad chat on it, but go ahead and refresh our memories, please.
So, well, that's not actually my certificate. So,
Specialty
yeah,
area.
it's not my specialty area. So Ken Ead would probably be a good one to ask about that.
Okay.
And so the entrepreneurship one, I know they're changing that focus really more from entrepreneurship to innovation and entrepreneurship. So if you're an employee that works at a big company, Entrepreneurship may not be something that your employer wants to pay for you to go do.
Right.
But innovation is a totally different thing, and that's a big part of their department and their degree is how do we innovate, how do we change, how do we improve our processes. So they're changing the focus of that certificate to be more corporate.
You know,
entrepreneurship.
you bring up a really, really good point, because I was talking with a prospective student not long ago, and this is for the employers out there that because these graduate certificates are credentialed, they're not aware that they can be used as a part of their HR benefit package.
Right.
And that they are fully.
They're working toward a degree. This is not a non-credit, I mean, not a non-degree seeking program. These are degree seeking programs. So, and I think it's important to point out as well, you don't have to go for a certificate in your electives. You can
just do the MBA.
You can just do the MBA with your 9 hours of electives. And you know, I met with a guy this morning. He's not as interested in getting one concentration or graduate certificate. He wants to get a general MBA, and so he's going to take, you know, the electives that are of interest to him across the different programs. And so the other thing that does is gives him more flexibility, and it can speed up your degree a little bit as well, because you're taking the electives that are available when you need them.
Okay.
Right, when they fit your schedule.
Instead of waiting for them to come out.
Yeah, waiting for, oh, I need this one for that certificate.
So that it
I need to get done.
spring, right.
So I want to get that promotion, or I want to go apply for that other job. I need to get done with my MBA.
Again, this is really, truly a perfect example of teaching or learning where you live.
How you live.
Yeah, exactly.
So gives you that flexibility to do it the way it works for you as the student, not for us as faculty and university.
And it's about time, because I know that for the longest time, I was probably when you and I were back in school, it's like you had to do it X, Y, and Z, and in this order, and close cohorts, the whole bit. So the flexibility and the opportunity to basically create your own design, your own path is fantastic.
And I think something else that's important, and this isn't as much for my MBA program, but you can come in and just do a certificate. You can do 3 certificates. You know, you can build those certificates together, and you could have an entrepreneurship certificate, an information assurance certificate, an HR certificate. So.
Actually, if you build 3 of those certificates together, you can apply for an actual master's degree.
Right.
So by using all 3 of them combined together, but we'll talk about that another time. So moving on, let's talk what all of the students out there want to know. How much is this going to cost me? This sounds fantastic. I want to do it, but can I afford to?
Well, most of our professional students work for some company that has a tuition reimbursement program, right? So for most of them, it's going to cost them very little.
Usually it's up front. They have to pay for it up front. This is how what I've encountered is that they pay for it up front, and then the company reimburses them, of course, based on your grades. And you all have to remember that when you are in a graduate program, A's and B's are the bottom line. So we're looking at students who are ready to get after it. So go ahead.
So our tuition, I tell people our tuition, if you took the 33 hours and you did it all face-to-face, it's around $15,000. That is a little bit more than 2 years of IRS approved tuition reimbursement, just barely a little bit more. If you did it all online, our 100% online program, I think that number is around the 20 to 21,000 number.
Yeah, it is hard to do it online. You pay for the convenience of that.
You pay for the convenience of that, and I don't mean just the convenience. I think it's more, you pay for the technology that we have to use and the people that support that technology. So what I tell people is, look, you're probably going to do most of your core, or if not all, face-to-face.
Right.
You're probably here and there going to see a class that maybe is 100% online you want to go take. And so that cost is going to be somewhere between that $15,000 and that $21,000
But
mark.
just so you know, we have a great link on our home website page, and it is the tuition
calculator?
Yes, the tuition calculator. Estimator, that's what it is. It's tuition estimator. So go on there, and it'll walk you through the whole thing to tell you how much it's generally going to cost you to come to school. I know that it's not listed here, but we also do have payment plans as well through the bursar's office. So, and then of course there's GMAT waivers.
So we have a GMAT waiver program that is competitive for qualified applicants. So we are only we require the GMAT, but in certain situations for people who qualify, and when we have enough space for those waiver spots, we can waive the GMAT requirement. So we require, you know, your transcripts, you have to have an undergraduate degree, you gotta have a good GPA. We look at, I don't like to give a hard number, but we call it a holistic, right, approach to admissions. So the higher your GMAT, the lower your GPA can be. And
Got
vice
it,
versa,
balance
right?
it out,
And
right.
we also look at the letters of recommendation, somebody's statement of purpose, their resume, all those things play into that decision. Generally, we're looking for a 550 on the GMAT and a 3.0 GPA for admissions. Again, if you've got a higher GMAT, you could have a little bit lower GPA. Vice versa.
Look at the total picture.
Total
But we
package.
just got a whole bunch of people excited about the whole possibility of qualifying for a GMAT waiver. So
Right.
what are some of those qualifications?
So
that you're
in
looking for?
general, if you have 5 years of work experience and can show that you can, we want to be able to see that people can do the quantitative side of the MBA. So if you have a STEM degree, something like that, and a 3.0 in that STEM degree, and 5 years work experience, and some other degrees as well, business, other things where you've done some quantitative work. If you don't have the 5 years work experience, then you need a 3.5 GPA.
Again, the balancing out.
Right.
Okay.
From an accredited U.S. school. So needs to be a U.S. University, American university that is accredited.
Okay.
Then we encourage people to take the GMAT by having scholarships available for exceptional GMAT scores. If you make a 600, we'll give you a $750 credit with the Bursar. It's a scholarship.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, if you make a 650, you get a $1,000 scholarship.
You know, one of the things that a lot of people don't talk about, and we've got just a little bit of time here, I want to get through this, but studying for the GMAT.
Okay.
You don't really study for it. You take practice tests. You prepare for it, right?
So what I
What's
tell
your
people,
advice?
I tell people, I just told the guy this morning that I had coffee with that he's concerned about the GMAT. I said, you don't really study for it. You don't go read a book and study for it. What I suggest to people is that it's a lot like when my 15-year-old comes home and asks me to help her with her math homework. I vaguely recognize what she's working on from a number of years ago.
We won't talk about that, yeah.
Yes. So and so I look at it and I go, yeah, I think I've seen this before. But if you give me 5 minutes in a YouTube video, I can help you with it, right? Then it all comes back to me. So what I tell people is the most important thing is to go take practice tests.
Practice tests. And you can get those a lot online or ask people about them.
Yeah, so do some practice tests so you know what's coming. I mean,
because doesn't the material change in between the exams anyway? So it's not necessarily topics, but it is.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's some of those exams out there that have sine, cosine, and tangent on there. I don't know that the GMAT does, but yeah, I mean, if you looked at it for 5 minutes, you'd remember it from high school. But if you just show up and have to remember something like that, or a squared plus b squared equals c squared, not hard, but if you haven't seen it in 25 years, then it becomes a problem. So
okay, well, let's move away from the scary stuff right now. Okay, and how to get started. Obviously, you guys are going to request some program information, and you can do that in a number of ways. You can go directly to our website and hit the graduate and hit the request info button on there. And then someone will contact you with your graduate program coordinator advisor. And in the MBA case, this would also be between you and Dr. Bowler here, as well as his advisor, Ashley Wilson. So then they will be helping you through the process, answering any specific questions that maybe are not listed on the website or that we have covered today. Preparing application materials, pretty easy stuff. There's a nice checklist that you just go down through. Your CV, your personal statement, your transcripts, so on and so forth, all of the things that we were talking about today.
Right.
And then you submit your application, and don't forget to submit your FAFSA if you're applying for funding opportunities. Do you have anything to add to this getting started piece?
I would say if you've got questions, reach out to me.
Okay.
Send me an email at matt.bowler@okstate.edu. Look me up.
I think we have you coming up next.
Okay.
So go ahead and
I live in Tulsa. I have an office in Tulsa. Unlike a lot of faculty that are based in Stillwater, I live here. I work here. I go to Stillwater as well. But like I said, I just had coffee at Chimera with a guy who's interested in the program before I came over here. So
that's fantastic.
I'm happy to meet with people, buy a cup of coffee, talk about their goals, their ambitions, what they're hoping to get out of the program, and how the program will work for them.
Perfect. So we make it really personal. Not only is the degree option personal and very customized, but also the entrance part of it as well. You get to meet your faculty. Really quickly, deadlines, you can see them here. We don't need to discuss them. If any changes are made, we can talk about those. They'll send them to you online when you do your inquiry.
We got questions?
I think we have questions
Okay.
coming in, so.
All right, let's see how quick we can answer these.
You're just gonna keep going
Okay,
that way.
all right. Which classes are still 16 hours and which are hybrid 8-week courses? So the two classes that are still 16 weeks.
Go back to that slide.
Yeah, it's the accounting class and the finance class. It's accounting 5183 and finance, I want to say that's 5013 is that core class.
If you didn't get those written down, just be sure to contact us via email. We will put Dr. Bowler's information up here shortly, so.
Okay. Is there any plan to include 8-week classes for online classes? Well, I teach an 8-week class that's online, 100% online, a leadership elective. So they're out there. It's kind of up to the professor and the content and how it fits within an 8-week format. I think there will be a move to more of that as we go on. Isn't there a decrease in learning outcomes when working that long and then adding that much class afterwards? I'm not exactly sure.
Repeat that.
Isn't there a decrease in learning outcomes when working that long, and then adding that much class afterwards? Well, that's part of the reason that those 8-week hybrid class meetings are not, I don't lecture during that time. Right? So I totally get your question there. The 6 hours, yeah, it's a long time, but in those second 3 hours, again, we're having guest speakers, we're doing activities. There's very few PowerPoint slides, if any. We're filling out surveys and doing casework and stuff like that. We're doing stuff.
Yeah. Plus, I want to just right on those coattails right in there. You know, when you get to this point and this is what you want to do and you know it's going to help your future and your career and your income, just the whole big picture, and you start getting passionate, you get into these classes, you don't feel like it. I mean, it can be overwhelming sometimes, but you will get through it because you've got faculty members that support you, you've got staff here that support you, and when you connect with those other students in your courses, you continue to support each other and saying, hey, I'm really struggling on this end, and you'll find somebody who isn't, and
Right.
vice versa, so
Yeah.
you can get through it.
So the next question is, do you have to take courses online or are all the classes offered in person? Again, that's the part of the flexibility of it. If you just want to take classes face-to-face,
Right.
you can do that. There may be, if there's a specific concentration or certificate, that may be when you run into a class that
It's
maybe
only offered hybrid or something.
only offered online, or only offered online this semester, and I need it this semester. If you can wait a semester, it might be face-to-face. And we're getting more and more of them in Tulsa and in the hybrid format.
Okay.
I'm yelling it from the tops of the buildings about how great this hybrid format is, both for students and faculty. Right?
I agree with you.
I'm really enjoying interacting with my students in this format, and because I think it's refreshing to them to not have to come to this class every week, and they don't see it as dread.
Well, and also on the other side of that is we live our lives this way, you know, completely online.
Right.
And so to have this eye contact, have that conversation, when you can't quite find the right words to type the question, you
Right.
can usually find it in person. So that combination is a beautiful thing. It is. I agree.
Next question is from Corey. He says, how far in the future will class schedules be published to help map a class schedule for the whole program?
Good question.
We have the core, the 24-hour core mapped out as to when it's going to be offered. So Corey, you'll be able to see when that happens. If you think about the electives, if you think about all those certificates that we listed, they all have 12 to 15 hours. That's a whole bunch of classes. We're working on getting that all put together, but that thing kind of varies as well because there's so many different people teaching those different classes.
Exactly.
So we have sorted, like the HR certificate, they have a pretty good rotation set up of what their classes are going to look like, but there are a whole lot of moving parts in that.
With my certificate, just to add on to that answer is, during the summer, I took a 16-week course in a 4-week time span, so it was very accelerated. But now I'm in one this semester that's the whole 16 weeks, but we only meet once a month on a Saturday. So I mean, it's varied, very, very varied.
And another question here from Vinay. He asked, what do you need in terms of GRE scores? We do accept the GRE.
Okay.
Essentially what we do with the GRE is there is a translator tool online. So if you take the GRE and you got it in the 80th percentile, it's gonna take that and it's gonna say, okay, what's an 80th percentile in the GMAT? And that's gonna give us a GMAT score. So
Okay,
that's,
and the difference between, while we're on that subject?
I never took the GRE, so
Okay.
I don't know a lot about it, but one difference I know of, on the GRE, they let you use a calculator. I don't know that it helps.
That's what I've heard is that the GMAT is a little bit more quantitative
Right.
in its question formats and
Right.
and so
So
on.
I've known people who've taken both
Wow,
to see which one they
that's
can do
ambitious.
better at. Has there been improvement of feedback loop on the applications? Yeah, so one of the things, so we're going through a lot of change right now.
We are.
So not only we changed the curriculum, have a new director, in Stillwater we have a new program manager for the MBA. We also, as a university and a graduate college, are switching from one software package called CollegeNet
Yep.
to another one that's called Slate, where all the applications come through. And
There's gonna be a learning curve there.
well, and we're already way down that curve. I think we should be able to give people quicker feedback.
Oh. Okay, let me get to the end here again. Oops, far to the end. And here you go. There's your contact information that we were talking about. And so any of those right there, I believe, did we pass yours? There's Dr. Bowler's information as well. So if you want to write that down, or again, email us, get on the inquiry page on our OSU-Tulsa website, and there it is right there, edu/MBA. And if you want any other information, including, now the one that says the tulsa.okstate.edu grad services, that's more for academic stuff. The grad info is more for academic stuff, and then the grad.I is where you just get your general graduate information that maybe we didn't cover today. Did you have another one? We've still got questions coming in. This is fantastic.
Very bottom?
If y'all don't stick around.
What's that? Oh, the middle. If we're wanting to move into teaching business school courses, would an MBA program be needed, or would a PhD be required? Generally, a PhD is required if you want to get into a tenure track or a professor practice. We occasionally hire people that have an MBA to teach in an adjunct format or relationship, that's just a class by class. But generally, the MBA is also the portal to get into a PhD program. You can
Exactly.
go get that MBA. Most programs, I think our program is actually moving toward you can just come in without the MBA, but you do that as part of your PhD program. So yes and no, right? I mean,
Right,
it's
again.
a stepping stone
Okay.
to get there. So
We're good?
And if anybody wants to contact me directly, same number there, 918-594, but it's my extension is 8408 on that next.
Oh.
On my extension is 8408,
Okay.
so 594-8408.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate all the great questions that came in today, and most of all, we really appreciate Dr. Bowler being with us today, because the Tulsa Professional MBA program, with all the changes and everything, all the flexibility, is just, now's the time. If you've been thinking about it at all, come talk to us. I think you'll be really excited. We've rethought almost the whole process, so thank you again for being
Thanks
here
for
today.
having me.
It's so nice
Yep.
to have you. And we'll see the rest of you soon. Stay tuned for our upcoming grad chat. I can't give you a date yet, but I know that we're going to be talking to graduate students and alumni, and so you'll get it from a student perspective next. Thanks for tuning in.